Hi, Jacob. Jeff Allen here. Just want to get back on the post that you made on LinkedIn several days ago. I haven't been able to answer yet because I had a kind of busy week with family things. The post was about return to offices back and what does that mean for remote workers and remote companies. You want to talk about it. So I've been bringing this up a lot over the past, and this plus the idea of 3 day, a 4 day week, 5 day week, and all that kind of stuff, and all those things that are these two things are kind of combined in the sense of remote workers, right? And what does that mean? And I remember talking with a good friend and colleague, a peer in the field, back in May and June when we were in New York. So I'm based in Paris. And we talked about the flexibility of knowledge workers, right? And I think this is a key thing. Knowledge workers, those that work in the knowledge field, are really different than anyone that is kind of working in anything that is, related to anything that can be done with, you know, from a distance, right? I mean, for knowledge, information, right? All that. And uh, so, I mean, you work in video conferencing, right? So that's kind of obvious because you can do video conferencing. It has been done. I mean, there have been platforms for this for I've been using all kinds of video conferencing platforms for probably 20 plus years, right? Nearly 20 years. Yeah, I think I've been using them. Yeah, it's been about 20 years now. And everything that I've done with this has been from a distance, right? So using it, organizing it, a lot of the conferences have been, or online sessions have been done. Back then we were using WebEx, then it became Skype. And I mean, there are lots of platforms now. So I've got a whole collection of platform licenses for platforms just through my employer. And and the whole COVID thing boosted it in a certain way that made it so it was possible to be able to do um, pretty much go all remote, right? For doing conferences. Now the question is, can you do a mixture on site and doing it remote? I mean, I was in Montreal 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was setting up some opportunities to give some video conferences online, but while there would be an audience at one of the universities in Montreal, and they would be in the room in one of their they have a kind of big video conferencing IT department that handles video conferencing, the big screen and stuff. But they'd be just have people online, audience online, people on site, and then the conference speakers would be either on site or online. So uh, this is and communication information industry, right? And the colleagues I talked with, Vigdis Eriksson, who she has a translation company, and the translation kind of industry itself has always been in the for the most part a distance based, remote based kind of situation where you've got a huge freelance network. And the whole industry is based on having platforms that you can recruit and bring in translators who are based anywhere in the world with a bunch of project managers and all that kind of stuff. And that all comes into play, right? So, and that again is an information and communication industry. And what you do when you do translations, you're paying for project management to have translators and reviewers all over the place, right? They don't have to be. In fact, it's actually better not to be based in a certain location. Now there are those who do it. So these are like information and communication type of fields. That's way different than a lot of the a lot of the companies right now that are going through the return to office mandate. My own company, my own employer is doing this, right? And it went from a total flex to a pledge to flex thing to a come to the office 3 days, have an office that you have to be able to, you're affiliated with, and then come back to the office 3 days a week. Now that was kind of what does that mean 3 days a week? 3 days a week each week, or does it mean 3 days a week on average per month, per year? What does that mean? And given that a lot of people have moved into provincial areas in their own countries, right, where they were living already, they had moved away from the capital where the employers usually found, or in the big cities, and moved to other areas. So they kind of readjusted life for several years around this thing, right? But the principle of a software company with product teams is working together. It is much better for a software product team to be on site together in a team of 10, as we call it, and groups of teams of 10, and to be able to, you got some architects, you've got some marketing people, you've got software developers, you've got software testers, you've got user experience designers, you've got user assistance writers, technical writers, you've got translators, you've got you got customer support folks, you've got training folks, and a lot of the people are going to be working together, especially in the development of the project managers, scrum masters. You got everyone and they're all working together. I used to turn around and talk to somebody. You don't set up all these meetings that you got to do when you do this online, right? Where the chatting. When you do, you just turn around, look at somebody, and hey, I got to do this and get it done. You don't have to deal with chatting. Hey, are you available stuff, right? Because you can see if the person's available, if they got the headset on or they're doing something else, right? So the idea of the mandate was to bring people together back. This new return to the office, was to have people working together on the Teams thing. But it's different if you're not, like in many of the projects I'm doing, I'm working with people all over the world, and we're doing this kind of an asynchronous mode where we don't need to be, each person knows their thing and their area, and we just may have some overlapping contact, but I'm not having to sit down and draw things and show things to people, right? Or, having to make workflow charts or whatever. Because I'm not working on those types of products. So it really depends on the kind of work that you have. Now, we've got the whole thing of like Amazon. We're saying they got to come back the week 5 days a week. Well, okay. So Amazon's main business, it's an e-commerce business, right? Now they do other stuff because they have a lot of folks doing the software field that work. They get products that are part of that help. But it's an e-commerce platform. What is it? Logistics. It's logistics of products that you're buying and selling, right? There's a provider and they're selling it to you, right? And so the whole logistics is making sure that you can identify products, get the partnerships or whatever, or have them stored somewhere, right? And then have you as a user buy it, bottom line, and then have the logistics to get it to you, right? And all that requires a lot of people to have to be physically in the facility to actually be dealing with the stock and stuff. Now, if you're doing it, and it doesn't even matter if you're working with partners, but the partners, whoever they may be, and sometimes you get those that sell new products. Some get Amazon, you can buy things that are used, right? So they're doing things with the bookstores or whatever. But you've got to physically be there. Those people need to be physically be there at some point in time to actually identify the stock, the book in stock, or whatever may be the item. They even sell guitars, and to check it and send it and check the condition, because they don't want to have it coming back, right? They don't want to. The cost of somebody just sending it back. That's the problem. So the goal is not to have a return. So all this type of industry where you've got to be doing that. It makes sense that you've got to have people back to work. And it's useless to have people out remote full time for this kind of job. There's some jobs you can do that in the field, but most jobs you can't. And I'm just thinking of other folks that, the retail business of shops and things. My music store is dying because of the internet. It's not improving because of it. Now there are some reasons that you can do, you can buy some things, but it's actually caused if you're doing everything at a distance, it's actually caused more harm to that field than doing any good. So, and the food business, forget about distance, and doctors, sure, okay, doctors and a doctor can do some, consulting. They can have an appointment online for some things, but you can't do it for everything, right? Because you actually kind of have to check the person out. Nurses, uh, Madame here at home, she's a nurse doing, a nurse doing stuff by distance. It doesn't quite work, right? So we human beings aren't just, you can't plug us in from a distance, right? So it really depends on your field. It really depends on your job. And I get it if you've hired everyone in your company from a distance and they've worked distance, because what you do is a distance-based topic, right? It's possible to do that. But there are just lots of industries that cannot do this, right? So it all depends. And there was a period of time where I saw when my employer went through a pledge to flex, which was pretty much 100% at home, pretty much. The whole thing came during the COVID period, right? The lockdown period. I said, and I started seeing some colleagues that were moving out to, a farther away because they didn't have to live in the big cities anymore, right? They have to come to work, to the office anymore, right? So, and I said to myself, it's going to bite him in the butt later on when finally the employer says you got to come back, right? Now, they've organized their whole family life around it, and I've done that too, right? But I've always been thinking carefully, but in the end, I'm going to be asked to come back to the office, right? So this is going to be, we didn't get rid of the building, right? Now, some of the floors were rented out to other companies who had people come back to the office, right? So at some point in time, it was going to come back to and be an issue, and it's come back to be an issue. And it's not surprising that you've got a lot of these companies that have factories that have a lot of logistics of items that you have to deal with. These are not industries that have any type of, focused on just knowledge information. Knowledge information is easy. You can talk. I mean, we've had phones forever, right? You know, Phones you go back to what? 1950s easily? A little bit. It was earlier, right? But I mean, the usage of phones by people all the time. We've been using phones and phone communication by phone for the past 70 years, 70 plus years, for a lot of people, right? So this is something that we all gotten used to. And we can now, we can do a lot more. Yeah, we can do stuff online I'll tell you, I've got a couple whiteboards here. I'll do things, but doing stuff with a whiteboard on the computer is way more difficult than do it with a physical whiteboard, right? And just show it. And the advantage of doing in a room is you can have people go and physically make changes to it and adjust it. Now, yeah, sure, there are whiteboards you can do online, but they're not easy to use. I mean, so at least a lot of those ones I've used. And you got to have all the right equipment to do it, or else it's a real pain. Whereas you have a whiteboard together, everybody's together. You can actually go and just have any type of marker pretty much and go do it, right? You just have to make sure you don't write with a permanent marker on anything you don't want to write permanently on, right? But that's just a small little issue. It's better for people to work together to be able to hack things out and whatever in the majority of situations. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. And I've been doing a lot of stuff remotely for 20, 25 years. Okay. So I can do majority. In fact, some of the colleagues I work with have been working with for 16 years. I've never met. Okay, so it can be done, but I'm not saying that it's the most efficient way. And it's improved things. We don't have to fly places or drive places or have to take the train for a lot of the meetings and things that you can do online, and that's from a distance. That's fine. But there are some points where I kind of wish it's a lot more productive to be together for a day and to work things out all together with all the gesture. I mean, the problem you're going to get it with online, sure, it's taking some time, but going through a lot, is that a significant amount of communication that we do is done not by audio or text. It's done by gestural communication. Look, I'm using my hands, right? I'm using the intonation of my voice as well. But a lot of it is unwritten. And it is much better, and there are other things too, a lot of other factors involved. Here you can only see here, but if we're sitting there in a meeting, or especially if you've got kind of an in-person interview happening, you can see the whole person. You can see everything they're doing. You can smell them too, right? Did they put perfume on or whatever? I'm not saying yet that, but all these things, and you can see how their gestures are, facial expressions a lot closer. You can feel. There's a lot of things you can do, and you have an entire environment. You can see it, right? And that's good. But remote has allowed us to do more, but not everything. So we'll see. Some fields and industries will thrive with remote work, and some will not. And we're seeing that now, and we're going to see a lot of a lot of employers. I mean, my employer, all the new positions that are offered, you've got to be working in the office 3 days a week. Okay? That's just the condition. No discussion. So we'll see how many employers can move that direction. We don't say 5 days a week, we say 3 days a week. And anybody that wants to get hired in, that's the condition, right? So no exceptions. That doesn't mean that all of us have to be doing 3 days a week. I've been around for a long time, living along the way. I live a 2-hour train and subway and tram ride to work and back, right? It's an hour and a half to 2 hours. Kind of depends on which direction, which day. That taxes on your physical. It takes time, right, to do that, and can do that during a crowded subway. That's kind of a pain, right? When you got a little rolling suitcase or whatever, you can get tired. So doing that, and sometimes I choose to do it non-peak travel times. So. But I do like going back to the office. It is good to meet with people, and to see people. The networking is better, and things happen at the coffee break. A lot of information happens in the coffee machine, right? So these things are really hard to do online. I mean, it's really hard to have the same level of communication that way. So it took 18, 19 minutes here, but want to give my thoughts on it, kind of thinking through a lot of different factors. So let me know what you think.